urged the Arab League observers' recent report, which accuses both sides of the conflict, to be also taken into account when the UN debates a resolution on Syria. Let's get more on this now from Dr Marcos Papadopoulus, editor of the Politics First magazine, live in London. Thank you for coming on RT. So the Arab League mission's report acknowledges the existence of armed groups involved in the killings. Quote, the observer mission witnessed acts of violence being committed against government forces and civilians that resulted in several deaths and injuries. So why have the Western powers and some Arab states actually ignored those findings, do you think?
Well, let's be very clear. Western interest in the conflict in Syria isn't guided by wanting to advance human rights, democracy or the rule of law in the region. If it was about that, then we'd probably see an American naval flotilla off the coast of Saudi Arabia, which happens to be one of the most repressive and brutal regimes in the world, but it follows a pro-Western foreign policy. The reason why Western governments are ignoring the findings of the report is because it doesn't fit into their agenda. Syria is a huge player in Middle Eastern politics, and the West, principally America, has a very problematic relationship with Syria. So it would be very much within America's interests for the Syrian government, for President Assad to fall from power, and for a more accommodating, a more sort of pro-Western government to come to power. Should that happen, that would give Washington almost full dominance politically in the Middle East, and it's what I would describe as a geostrategic chessboard. Because also as well, American policymakers, planners are very clear that Russia has a lot of influence in Syria. It has a naval base at the port of Tartus, which has been there since the early 1970s. If President Assad was to fall from power and a new pro-Western government to replace him, that would force Russia out of the Middle East, and Russian foreign policy would take a huge blow should President Assad fall from power, and the American government is very conscious about that. So in answer to your question, it's not within the interests of Western powers, principally America, to take into account what has been actually said in the report of the Arab League. So
as you suggest here, there are multiple geopolitical strategies at play here that really need to be emphasized. But if I may, the findings in this new Arab League mission report also suggest the media has exaggerated the number of those killed in the country and the nature of the incidents. Is there something sinister in the reporting, or is it just a lack of access for journalists, do you think?
Western media is as powerful as any bomb in the NATO military arsenal. I mean, I interviewed the former Bosnian Serb leader, Radovan Karadzic, last year, and he told me that Western media did more damage to the Bosnian Serbs than NATO bombs. And of course, we can see that Western media has been distorting things that have happened in Syria, and this has been shown up in the reports of the Arab League. But I would like to make the point that this is not the first time that Western media has demonstrated just how powerful it is. It first made its debut in the Yugoslav civil wars, where the conflicts in Croatia, Bosnia, Kosovo were portrayed as a conflict between good and evil, the good being the Bosnian Muslims, the Croats, the Kosovan Albanians, the bad being the Serbs. It's a lethal weapon in the West's arsenal, Western media, and it should never be underestimated just how damaging it can be, and it works together in the interests of Western foreign policy.
Well, as you suggest, certainly in working with the Western media, many Western states are claiming that Assad's days are numbered, calling him a dictator and many other names at the same time. Do you think the overthrow of the regime is just a short matter of time now?
Well, I mean, who knows? It's very difficult to predict the future. But I mean, the international community, its main focus should be on bringing peace and stability to Syria. Civilians are dying every day, not just because they're being caught up in the fighting between government forces and armed militants and terrorists as well. The report by the Arab League clearly stated that heinous crimes have been committed by the people in Syria that are opposed to President Assad. So instead of Western governments, the British and the American and the French ones, talking about President Assad's days being numbered, they should be more responsible in their outlook, and the main focus should be on bringing peace to Syria.
Dr Marcos Papadopoulus, editor of the Politics First magazine, live in London. Thanks for coming on RT today.
Thank you.